Hello and welcome to Halftime Live. It's the FA Cup quarter-final. The last quarter-final be played this weekend is Manchester United 0, West Ham United 0 at Old Trafford. We're here to talk about the first 45 minutes. Well, it's been a half of half chances so far. Emenike with a couple, Andy Carroll with slightly less chances. Gonzo, what's your thoughts on the first half generally?
I think it's been a bit more even than we might have expected. Perhaps we've been a little bit optimistic as Manchester United at their place after all. I think we've seen a bit of a. I don't think Payet has quite got into the game yet. Yeah, there's been chances both half, which I'm sure we'll get into. I think we've seen bit of a midfield masterclass from Mark Noble, actually.
Charlie, do you think it's a compliment to both defences that we've only really seen a couple of half chances to both teams, or is it a criticism of each other's attacks?
I would go with the latter. I think both teams looked for the early goal. They were both pushing quite hard very early on, and then after about 20 minutes, they both sort of ramped down and sort of sat back and didn't really push each other too hard. I mean, both defences are decent, but I think they're going to have to push a bit harder to try and find a goal here somewhere.
Gonzo, do you think Bilic and Louis van Gaal is going to be kicking? Well, Emenike's header. Herrera had a really good chance in the edge of our area there. Is that the sort of chances that takes you to Wembley and doesn't take you to Wembley?
Yeah, maybe, but I mean, I think we've got options off the bench. I think Emenike could have scored 2 goals actually, and I think he's been quite poor, very poor in fact. So we've got options and we can deal with that. We can deal with that there. I think as far as Van Gaal's concerned, I don't think he's got a lot of wriggle room left, because I think possibly he will be happier with his formation. I think Bilic has probably got it wrong at the start. He needs to sort out that right-hand side, because you've got Carroll who's playing well and really trying to do stuff, but Emenike's drifting right. So you've got him and you've got the problem, which is Antonio there, and Martial seems to be exploiting it. So I'd expect Bilic to tweak his tactics. I expect us to be better in the second half. I'm not sure Man United will.
Yeah, I quite agree with that. I think it's been the battle of the right backs. I think Varela for Man U is not exactly looking like the best right back in the world, and Aaron Cresswell's been played in behind him way too often, and I think we should maybe have taken one of our chances. He's been pinging some decent crosses in there. Charlie, do you think Bilic is targeting their right back a bit, and do you think if we're going to get a goal, that's where it's going to come from?
I think he's targeted both fullbacks, because Antonio bobbing forward and then Emenike sort of cutting inside is leaving that side quite open quite a few times. We haven't quite created anything out of it, but there is a danger there. And then obviously, as you just picked up, Varela, I don't think he's having the best game of his life, and Aaron Cresswell is getting in behind him consistently. And I mean, that's something we see a lot. Payet and Cresswell are just brilliant together. Because Payet is just so good on the ball, he allows Cresswell to overlap constantly, and they work very well together, despite everyone knows Payet's not the best out wide. I think there is something going to come there, because again, we saw very early on the amount of balls that were getting played in. At least one of them should have gone in, and both of their fullbacks are looking dodgy, to say the least.
Well, there's another defender that could be looking a little bit dodgy in the second half. Winston Reid looks a little bit rusty, doesn't he, Gonzo? 2 minutes into the game, he's in a booking for a very wild challenge. He was really late in terms of football. 2 seconds doesn't seem late, but in football it's very late. He hasn't looked the best, even at clearing it, being in the right position at the right time. Do you think he's a bit thrown in the deep end a bit today, Gonzo?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I said on the match thread on the forum that I thought it was a definite yellow card, and nobody argued with me at all. So I think everybody's pretty much in agreement. I was surprised that Bilic switched from his 3 centre backs. So he's obviously made a bit of a gamble there. He's obviously thought, I'm not going to go with the 3 centre backs. I'm going to leave Oxford out of it, put Kiate into midfield, who's played very well with Noble, as I mentioned earlier, and bring Reid in. I'm not sure it's worked, but what has compensated for that is Ogbonna, with every passing game, looks more and more accomplished. I think he's a fantastic player.
Well, Reece Oxford's injured, in case you're wondering why Reece Oxford isn't a player. He did pick up an injury yesterday. That's why he's not there. Possibly that's why Bilic just had to make the late change, because it didn't look like Reid was going to be involved in the squad. And yesterday it was announced he was on his way to Manchester with the rest of the team, perhaps. Also, the other person on the booking is Mr. Elbows, Fellaini for Manchester United. Charlie, is this something we really need? Do we really need to try and wind him up a little bit in the second half? It didn't take much in the first half. All it took was Mark Noble to foul someone, and the free kick wasn't given. Then bang, Fellaini was off, and then the next thing he's in the box against Andy Carroll, swinging his arms around again. Is that something that West Ham need to look at?
Yeah, like you said, I don't think it takes much to annoy Mauro Fellaini. He seems to get a bit angry quite often. Yeah, he's a walking, talking red card waiting to happen. I mean, we've sort of almost put Andy Carroll directly up against him, and they're going to be a running sort of battle because Andy Carroll's been dropping quite deep, and then they're going to be sort of like clashing almost. And Fellaini, really, all you have to do is just wind him up slightly, and he goes, as we saw. I think that's going to be LVG's probably biggest problem, is just trying to keep him calm, because they've got they're big name players all out, like we've said, like Mata and whatnot. So they've not got the greatest options on the bench. So keeping him calm is going to be imperative for them.
I disagree with that. He's got Schweinsteiger and Schneiderlin on the bench. I think he's got perfectly replacements there for Mario. If he's got them on the bench, I think he can swap Fellaini easily. Gonzo, do you think Fellaini's looking quite dangerous actually going forward for Man U? He provides that attacking outlet, and there's one person that can ping a 60-yard pass in Premier League. We all know, West Ham Man U fans know, it's Michael Carrick, and boy, has he put a couple of ping-point long ball crosses. Where's to Martial or Fellaini? And he's putting himself up against Winston Reid, isn't he?
Yeah, but not just aerially. He's very, very strong when he's on the ball. He shields the ball very well. I think aside from Martial, he's been their second best player, actually, Fellaini. Yeah, he's very good. He is a threat, and I mean, it's interesting you say about winding him up. Maybe we should look to do that, but but not take too much focus away from our own game, because I do expect, as I said, a better West Ham to come out in the second half. And what did surprise me was because he had the sort of tussle with Carroll, and then Rashford came in, and we got the free kick. Michael Owen said shouldn't have been a free kick, but it absolutely should, because Rashford got none of the ball and all of the man. But what actually made it interesting for me is they've clearly not done their homework for me, because you do not want to give us free kicks from that area, and at some point Payet is going to get involved in this game and is going to try and influence this game, and I think that's really going to be our trump card, regardless of what Fellaini does or doesn't do.
And once again, for our long free kicks, Lanzini is standing behind the line of defence, and he's trying to block Chris Smalling, and he's up against Andy Carroll when it comes to defending. So if Andy Carroll is going to get a free header, I think Mr. Lanzini is going to have a massive part to play in blocking Smalling. Very clever tactic by West Ham. It's not something I don't think I've ever seen us do, but boy, am I pleased to see it. Changes on the bench, though, we've got lots of them. We've got Joey O'Brien if we need to change the right back. We've got Song, Obiang, Moses, Sacco, and Valencia. Charlie, what are you hoping Bilic does? How does Bilic win this game?
For me, I think Gonzo was right about it. Was a bit odd that he's changed the sort of formation from the three at the back. For me, I would drop Kouyaté deeper and then take probably Emenike off and bring in like a Song, someone else to sit, and just go back to that formation we had. Because I really want to see Antonio go at them, because he's somehow managing to do it from the deepest position on the pitch. Put him slightly further forward, and I am convinced that he will be able to cause Rojo and Blind trouble.
Gonzo, Sacco came off the bench last week at Goodison Park. He helped change the game. Is that the man you're wanting to see really change the game at Old Trafford?
Yeah, he's a class act. Emenike's not played well. Sacco is a level above Emenike. Clearly, he wasn't fit to play the 90 minutes, so no criticism of Bilic for not starting him. But 45, he's definitely going to be up for 45 minutes, as Charlie said. The right-back situation needs dealing with. I'm not sure that O'Brien is the correct option there, because Martial's quick. So, he could, whilst O'Brien might be positionally better than Antonio there, he's still going to get skinned. So maybe, as Charlie says, put Kouyaté back there, and you can bring Song in the middle, which I think is a fair call. Probably worth pointing out, you mentioned Lanzini. I think Lanzini's been very bright today, very bright.
Yeah, he's still my favourite player for that reason. Charlie, quick answer: right now, would you take a replay at Upton Park?
No.
Gonzo, would you, or would you be disappointed that we haven't done enough to get the win here.
No, I think we're going to win. I really do. I think it's one of those games. It's second half. We will come out a different team, and that's a manager under pressure. Little bit of momentum. The crowd. It's a different crowd. It's a cup crowd. We know this from West Ham. The guys that normally can't, Man United fans that normally can't get into the league games. So they're a little bit noisier today. The Man United fans. We've got 9,000 there. They'll go quiet. Bit of momentum from us. Van Gaal will go mental and throw himself to the floor or whatever. And I just think our crowd our fans will get up. I really do. I fancy this. There's no replay. Let's do them now.
Well, while Van Gaal might be throwing himself to the floor, hopefully West Ham will be throwing themselves into the hat tomorrow night to draw for the semi-final on a place at Wembley, alongside Everton, Crystal Palace, and of course Watford, who have just defeated Arsenal. If you're wanting to keep up with the match and read the match report straight after full-time, go on to clarendonhue.info. If you want to chat with your fellow West Ham fans, come on to hammerchat.board.net. But thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back ASAP with our own match review, hopefully celebrating West Ham in the semi-final. Thank you for joining us.